Appreciate that. I followed Union County government for about 4 years now, fairly closely. And I have a question, but that's at the end. First of all, there are a number of what you call one-shots in the budget as I review it. Continuing one-shots. They refinanced Union County Utilities Authority debt and got $2 million out of that. Something I'm still looking at, they seem to be taking money from the Open Space Trust Fund. The no open space has been bought for quite a while, and they say you could pay parks employees with open space money. That I consider a one-shot, even though it's continuing. And this refunding says the County of Union has a need for additional revenues for budget purposes, and so they're doing it through bonding. That seems inappropriate. I mean, otherwise everybody could do that. I think it's a one-shot and shouldn't be approved. And I would also note that as far as what they're doing in the future, if you go by the Parkway, exit 138, there's a massive building going up. It's a golf clubhouse / wedding banquet hall. It's costing $1 million a month to build. It's not built yet, but there's also plans for a family courthouse, $45 million. There's discussion of 2 hockey rinks at Oak Ridge Park. They privatized the golf operations, closed one, and now they're putting in more money. This is hundreds of millions of dollars in debt on top of what's already, I estimate to be about $700 million, counting the UCIA leases. So the debt is crippling. And as far as the fees go, it was stunning the amount of fees that are being floated, being paid because of this. Of these 4 transactions altogether, I totaled up $1.3 million, including underwriters' fees. Now, how that, I didn't look at the actual numbers behind the 3% savings, but I think it'd be fairly difficult, especially in this market, to get the interest rates that they were thinking of getting to make that 3%. And I'll finish up just with a question. So this, I asked, and other people asked at the budget meetings, some of the questions that you asked here, and nobody knew, as far as fees, as far as how much was going in the budget. It's on tape. We asked those questions, they weren't. So now I'll ask them here. If this is passed, how much will be going into this? I assume the 2012 budget. I know it's a payment from NW Financial, and just confirming, this will not affect the layoffs at all. They are going through whether this passes or not. But if it doesn't pass, will there be more layoffs? That was good. Thank you, Barry.
And I would just, I would ask somebody from the county, just for the record, one more time to stipulate, what is the amount between the 2 transactions that will be provided to the county itself?
Yeah, well, obviously it's market driven, so when at the time of the applications, on the one transaction we estimated I think $987,000 at closing, and on the other transaction it was just over $1 million.
So
Today, currently.
So essentially it's approximately a $2 million benefit to the county for use in their budget. Whether or not there are other cost savings that can be achieved in the county is something that the county is going to have to work out, and the citizens will have to have that discussion about what level is appropriate. We share the concerns about the fees. As part of the motion that we're going to be making, we'll be requiring fees, the specific fees that are ultimately associated with the transaction, to be filed with the board, so there's full disclosure of what they were. I think we're prepared to move forward with this. On the record at the last meeting, there were statements by the county under oath that even with this transaction, there would be approximately 200 layoffs. That with the transaction, it would minimize the layoffs by, I believe the number was approximately 35 or 50 or so employees that would not have to be laid off because of this transaction. As we all, I think everybody understands, this is kicking the can down the road. a little bit, so next year the same problem's going to exist, and either those additional employees are going to have to be laid off, or there will have to be some other savings that is identified. We would also wind up making as part of the motion that the layoffs must move forward, and the levy that was discussed at the last meeting must move forward as a condition of positive findings today, because without those structural savings, this transaction will be an even larger structural problem for next year. The county's budget will ultimately be submitted to the Division of Local Government Services, which will have to review it and make sure it's in compliance with law. As stated earlier, the Deputies Attorney General have reviewed this transaction. It is lawful. The revenues can be received by the county. And as I stated earlier, this would be the last time I would approve something like this. I would agree with the commenter that it's not necessarily the greatest public policy, and it's something that should stop, but it has happened many, many, many times in the past. I don't like to change the rules 5 months into a fiscal year for people, but going forward, it's something that this may be the last one that's allowed to move forward. I appreciate the commenters' comments today. I don't think they were inappropriate at all. I commend you for your reasoned comments and the respectful nature that you made. With that, I would like, if there's no further comments, I would like to make a motion.